Sam Edmund, you've taken on the task, the top 5 obsessions of trade radio.
Get started Monday, Gerard, and thanks for the homework assignment. I'm treating it with the respect it deserves. We start with topic number 1, the garage sale. Now, duck season gets more controversial by the year, but dumping season is going in the opposite direction in the AFL, who have ticked off on those more salary dump deals. It isn't a great term, it's a crass term, but it is a shift that will inject more activity into this trade period. So the Will Brodie deal will be repeated a few times in this window, where there was widespread bewilderment and even criticism of the Suns this time 12 months ago. But I think we're a lot more educated now when it comes to the AFL's back-scratching trade, if you like. So the Suns will be very active here again. We spoke, last week about how they're overhauling their structure, a preemptive strike, if you like, on their salary cap to free up more money for that emerging core of players, the Rows and Anderson and Kings of the world, but also to save some room for a big fish in the future. So the names likely to be involved in this, Jack Bowes, Braden Fiorini, Jeremy Sharp, Alex Sexton. They're not on their own. The Giants are going to farewell Tim Taranto, Hopper, Bruin, Hill, but they don't have the picks to sweeten those deals like Gold Coast do, and almost all those players, bar Hopper, are out of contract anyway. So they, in many ways, are the cautionary tale where the Suns don't want to get to. Collingwood have the Adam Treloar sequel in the form of Brodie Grundy. Hawthorn would love the last year of Tom Mitchell's contract off the books. St Kilda's open to freeing up room with Bradley Hill's departure. And the other thing is the AFL are about to crack right down on the injury allowance. Now, everyone thinks the AFL salary cap is a hard cap, but it actually hasn't been. Clubs have been able to game the system here a bit without getting into the nitty-gritty and sending people cross-eyed when they know players are going to miss some footy. So that loophole's going to be shut out as well. So it all points to the clubs needing to be proactive, and you're going to see some selling of picks to sweeten the deals this year as well.
Selling of picks, like it. Brodie Grundy. So how is that going to play out? Melbourne have clearly put their interest on the table.
So is this 2?
This is 2.
So the garage sale, the salary dumping is 1.
Now, this is 2. You're going to need a bigger boat. So the big fish still in the water, of which Brodie Grundy, well, he's Moby Dick at the moment, isn't he? So this will happen to Melbourne. Very confident this will happen. It would take
metaphors there for what it's worth.
Something extraordinary. Something extraordinary for it not to, because all the pieces are just about in place. I mean, there won't be an announcement or a nomination from Grundy. He doesn't have to do that. But the trade will happen, and there will be a sizable contribution from Collingwood. 5 years to run at $1 million a season he's owed. So if Adam Treloar was 10 out of 10 on the Angus scale with his departure, this one isn't that far behind, is my understanding. Brodie Grundy has never been scared to speak his mind, and I just wonder if, when it's all said and done, he might express that dissatisfaction over how it's all played out, because at the end of the day, he wanted to stay at Collingwood.
So this is a club-inspired move, and I think he has every right to make sure everybody in footy totally understands that.
Yeah, and I think that picture, well, I hope it will anyway. He'll paint a picture for us when he does get to Melbourne out the other side. Jordan De Goey, he stays on a 5-year deal, I would think now. There's some serious fine print to work through here in terms of the clauses that Collingwood want to protect themselves with. Behavioural clauses they are. Jack Gunston wrestling with leaving Hawthorn for Brisbane, who touched base a long time ago, needing to replace Dan McStay, of course. Out of contract, free agent. Some players at Hawthorn think he'll depart. There's life after football things to take into account here with moving to Brisbane. Would be a great pickup for the Lions, cost them nothing in a trade sense, which is important for them, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. And then there's Tom Mitchell, of course, wants to get to Collingwood, but he's down the queue there given everything the Pies have got going on, which we'll also get to in a bit.
Wow, fascinating, really. I think Melbourne are going to be the biggest winner out of this, because whilst you lose Luke Jackson, you upgrade your ruckman to a prime ruckman now, whilst also shoring up the future by getting 2 top 10 or 1 top 10 in the first round pick for Luke Jackson. So you get 2 picks to shore the future up. You get a better ruckman than Jackson, at least for the next 2 to 3 years. You pair him up with Max Gawn. I don't think this is the disaster that's been made out for Melbourne if they can pull this off, and you get Collingwood to pay a significant portion of his wage.
He's a star ruckman coming at a discount, isn't he, Sando? So you don't look a gift horse in the mouth there. And there's a succession plan. Max Gawn's got a few years on.
Well, that would be my next question, is why do you need a ruckman? Like, it feels like they need that power forward, but or who is going to ruck? But you can't really do 50-50.
Well, it'd be the same setup as what they've done with Jackson and Gawn. It'd be more, you would think more Gawn forward and Grundy more ruck. But it gives them a bit of flexibility. Yeah. Gawn's good behind the ball as well. So, but you're right, it doesn't solve their forward issues. But perhaps they use those 2 picks they'll get from Fremantle.
Yeah, you're right.
And try and on-trade them or try and pick a forward.
Are you sure they're not going to be the NFL team who spends the year with 2 quarterbacks and they spend the whole year asking, who's the starting quarterback?
maybe, but that's been the case for them this year and last year, and it hasn't been a disaster.
No, but Jackson's not one of the 3 best ruckmen in the competition.
Yeah, but
like
he's
he's
not-
cutting his teeth. And
Yeah, but he still takes up the position. He's still a commanding of a position in that forward line or in the ruck.
Yeah, I feel like Melbourne lost their way when they started to play Gawn as a forward and started Jackson in the ruck. And you go, oh my God, the best ruckman in the game who is never going to tear a game. He kicked 5 goals in a quarter in a preliminary final playing ruck, not playing forward.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence that will ever happen again.
It's the same with Brody Grundy. He's been trialled forward, and he's a great ruckman. That's the thing. He almost changed the game with the ruck position.
There's so many things strategically you can do, though. We're going to look at Blitzarves and Stanley.
Yeah.
Well, why can't Gawn and Grundy do the same thing?
Because neither of them is Blitzarves with the weird and wacky things he can do. They're
Gawn
hardcore ruckmen.
Gawn can be Stanley, though, and Grundy can be Blitzarves. In terms of he's at least at his best been a low 20s ruckman, low 20 possession ruckman who throws his weight around and can win enough of the footy. I get your point, and there's no exact science behind it. Clearly, they've got a plan that they think they can pull off. I'd rather have those two than none.
Yeah. And Grundy does see himself and
Extra midfielder.
as a midfielder. He actually, even though he's a great ruckman, he actually sees himself as a classic ruck rover.
Got to get himself fit, though. That's the big if as well. Got to get himself super fit.
The big fish still in the water. 3.
The Dunkley Dilemma. That'll be an obsession of trade radio, no doubt. A big contract on the table, 6 years at the Lions on good money, and he'll most likely depart winning the Bulldogs best and fairest next Wednesday. How he gets there remains the great mystery. Will Ashcroft is the nominal number 1. After that weekend that he just showed us, absolutely commands serious capital to match a pick by the Lions if North Melbourne bid at number 1, which they probably will. Jasper Fletcher also considered a first-round pick, son of Adrian. They want to get in as well, who will likely attract the bid. So McStay should get them a second rounder compensation-wise. That would leave the Lions with 15, 33, 34, 44 and 69. Dunkley surely will be 15 and something else. They're asking for 2 first-rounders, Gerard, but I think they would accept that pick 15 and maybe even a future second going forward. So if players become involved, like Jackson Payne, for example, given Darcy Gardner most likely stays at the Gabba, then that will change everything. But end of the day, the Lions need more picks in too, don't they? So this will be the one that'll be a great fascination. Luke Jackson as well, big topic of conversation until a deal is struck there. Surely Fremantle, they have 13 and 85. They'll get some picks back for Logue and Lobb and Tucker and Akers, but surely 13 is involved in that one at an absolute minimum. But these are the 2 deals that are going to go the distance, I think.
Plus.
Yep.
Any names were not. Oh, no, you're going to move on. I'll let you move on to number 4.
Well, there will be. Yeah, there'll be names that potentially have some decisions to make at the moment. We're told that there's some player managers out there who have players on their books who are still weighing things up. That's not to say that they won't pull the trigger when it comes. Topic number 4, Gerard, the Termites in the Sawmill. The busiest out there. So we're talking North Melbourne, Collingwood, Fremantle, Richmond, GWS. North Melbourne, we've spoken about already with Alistair Clarkson coming in. They want to add some experience there. So the Griffin Logue, Darcy Tucker, they've committed already, subject to trade agreements. Hunter Clark will join them at this stage. Bradley Hill's a player of interest. They discussed Blake Acres before he settled on Carlton. Collingwood almightily busy for a side who just lost a prelim. McStay coming in, Frampton, Hill, Fiorini, perhaps Tom Mitchell. They're seeing off Grundy, perhaps losing Ollie Henry, who would join Geelong if the deal is right. But the Cats have got other balls in the air there as well, including Tanner Bruin and others. The Fremantle exodus as well, with Luke Jackson coming in, makes them an interesting watch. Logue, Tucker, Akers, Lobb. They've got an interest in Jeremy Sharp, Josh Corbett at the Suns. The Lobb one has the potential to get ugly as well after they announced they had no intention of trading him. Yep. So watch that space as well. Richmond, Tim Taranto, Jacob Hopper, they're big deals, potentially with players involved as well, and that has got a bit to play out.
All right, so that is going to fuel the biggest trade period we've ever seen.
And then in regards to what Kane's saying quickly, Gerard, the watch list.
Yep.
The players on the periphery, they've got decisions to make and those who might join them. So this is the Jack Grahams of the world, the Cozzy Pickett's, the Mitch Georgiades, the Ollie Henrys, Will Setterfield, Paddy Dow, Crozier, Shackey, Connor McKenna we can't forget about, and Toby Bedford, who still hasn't decided what he wants to do at Melbourne either. He's got a contract offer from the Demons, but a glut of clubs lining up who need pressure, goal-kicking small forwards. So watch this space on all those players and more.
Right. We haven't seen an event like this before, have we?
No, never. Last year we were pretty bored.
No cash last year.
We did well
to
get through 2 weeks with not much. We got a lot.
We got something to talk about this year, Kane.
We're blessed.
And Sando's going to be joining us
7
as well.
o'clock on
Can't
Monday.
wait.
We'll kick that off.
Yeah.
Wow. So the 5 obsessions of trade radio, the garage sale and the evolving salary dumping.
Yep.
You're going to need a bigger boat. The
Yes.
big fish in the water. It's Jaws rather than Moby Dick. The Dunkley Dilemma, the Termites in the Sawmill, the busiest clubs in the Watchlist. That's
Indeed.
excellent.
I knew Moby Dick wasn't in Jaws, by the way. I just thought I'd
I know.
extrapolate my understanding of that.
All right, so the two, Sam and Sander, you're going to be together.
Yep.
We
We're 1 till 3.
1 till 3 during the
each
week.
weekday, yep.
And you've got the brekkie shift.
Yeah, 7 till 9 with Matthew Lloyd.
Brilliant. So that's trade radio as we set you up for what's to coming from Monday.